Pretty much what I wanted to make this video is kind of an introduction of myself to you guys. So it's an introduction of myself, but it's also, if you need a little faith, here you go. I'm going to show you and tell you of some stories that are absolutely crazy, like things that I never thought would be real in my whole life. But here we are. I got some crazy stories to tell. So this is weird, but I'm just gonna run into it. Why not? I want to start out with pretty much the beginning of my life. I had a really rough childhood, honestly. Whenever it came to my home life as a child, it really wasn't the best. So I realized I came up with a type of coping mechanism back whenever I was younger. So I made this character up in my head. Her name is Liana. I still refer to her today. I now believe, one of my spirit guides. But I just remember making up this whole story in my head on her origin and just what was going on in her life. She was from a kingdom, and I kind of forgot most of her origin story just because I made it whenever I was so young. I want to say maybe 8th grade or so. I was just about to enter high school. And I just remember that through all of the hardships of my life, she always guided me through them. She guided me through them and always counseled me on how to go throughout a situation, how to feel better from situations. I would tell friends and family about Liana and how much she's helped me and how much she actually counseled me and made me do things, and she wouldn't make me do things. She would just she would just guide along the way. And I realize now that gosh, she's literally one of my spirit guides. Later on in life, I was just like, holy crap, she's my spirit guide. That's why. Whenever I would talk to her, it just came so naturally. I wasn't just talking to myself. I would hear her. It's there was another dialogue in my head that was actually, talking back to me, and everything that it said was so natural. It was crazy. It almost felt like I was making it up. Holy crap, this is all in my head, but I realized later on that was divine guidance. So here we are. I used to share a room with my sister back in the day. So this story is pretty crazy. But this story affirms that ghosts are real, okay? If you don't believe in ghosts, you're one of the lucky ones. One day, I was just sitting on my bed. My sister and we had bunk beds. And I sat on the bottom bunk. And all of a sudden, something told me to look at a certain thing. So I had a purse that was in a 2-drawer organizer, right? And a purse string was hanging out of one of the drawers. So anyway, I look at this, I stare at this purse string, and then all of a sudden, it literally lifts up, out of the blue. There was no wind. It definitely was not there was a gust of AC wind, it wasn't like that. It was like someone picked it up and let it fall. And whenever something falls back down, it does a little bounce, It didn't. It was the most controlled movement. It was crazy. I looked at it and lifted up, down once, and my sister was in the room. That was the crazy part. The lights were on. It was I literally just entered the room. I just sat down. I was thinking about the next thing I was going to do, and it just happened. I told my sister, you need to look at this. And so she looks. And literally, it seemed like it was trying to prove itself. It lifts up again and does it again. And she just stares at me. And I'm just like, we just are oh, okay, let's ignore that, okay? Because what are you supposed to do? But yeah, so there's a second story. That one was a crazy one. My brother and I were sitting in my bed. We were watching anime or something. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, we hear next to us, I had a little tiny entertainment center like scooted into the corner. Scooted into the corner, and we literally hear 2 knocks. And I don't know why. Like, whenever I was younger, my first thought was ignore it. And that's literally what I said. As soon as it happened, I was like, just ignore it. Just ignore it. And I kept looking at the screen. And he just kind of like looked at it and then looked at me and was like, oh, okay. So that was pretty crazy too. So ghosts are real, people. So life got in the way. There were some personal stuff, and there was also some, just being busy with school and being busy with all of the extracurriculars, just being involved in stuff, and boys and blah, blah, blah. Life gets in the way. So fast forward to living not by myself, but living as an adult without parents' help at all, for like a year. And a friend sent me this song. It's called Rosebud by US Girls. And I listened to this song over and over and over again, because like the music video itself was so beautiful that, like, I don't know, it just kind of jolted me. It's interesting. It kind of jolted me awake. At the time, I was with an abusive ex, and emotionally abusive, not like physically or anything. And I was pretty chubsters and pretty disappointed and very, very edgy and very upset in life. I was just upset with everything. And then I listened to that song, and it just mentioned how, like, I have the key to do what I want to do. I'm the only one who can open the door to opportunities that I wish. Okay, fine. It was so odd. I remember after that, like, of course I remember my life before that. I remember it, but I just remember sitting outside during a storm and looking at all of the clouds. It was before a storm. It was before a storm, and I looked at the clouds, and the sky was this beautiful, rosy, red color, and the clouds were a mixture of fluffy white and a mixture of like dark gray, and it was just so beautiful. I remember I took a picture of it, and I had my headphones on just listening to the song over and over again, and it started to rain, and it was just beautiful. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional because, like, I just remember being there and just being like, yeah, I can do anything. Like, I just remember feeling so powerful. My life is this way because I created it to be this way. I had worked for it to be this way, and I can work and make it whatever I want to. So at that point, it was crazy. I broke up with my ex, and because I just suddenly realized, like, I don't deserve that. I deserve so much better. I deserve someone who's going to love me always, and no matter what, like, always stick up for me and always fight for me, And it was just awesome. It was a really freeing moment when I just suddenly realized that I could be free. So that was the first awakening. After that, I started working out and, like, taking care of my body. I just got like this jolt of, let's get healthy. Like, like, I have the power to do whatever I want. And I've always had like a body dysmorphia since I was younger because of my mother. She did too. She never admitted it, but she did. And she kind of passed it on to me. And I always had this idea that, like, oh, I never could lose weight, and I never blah, 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 blah. But I don't care. Like, at that point, I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna get fit. I'm gonna get fit, and I'm gonna look hot and be the person and have the body I want to have and be. You know what I mean, and you know what I'm saying. So, yeah. After that time, it was still kind of hard to use my intuition at that point. And I realized that I did still have Liana's guidance. I just forgot about it because I grew older and got so, sucked into life. And so I tried to look for some jobs, and I still slightly had like not the best attitude about life. And okay, Manny. Okay. I didn't have the best attitude about life. Sorry. And I still was kind of struggling in that moment. Also, I look really goth, and it's literally, I look less goth most of the time, and you're probably gonna be like, that's not even goth. Whatever. This is goth in my standards, okay? But anyway, yeah, so sometimes I made some mistakes, and I ended up picking up 2 part-time jobs at the same time, and it was awful. Both jobs were absolutely not for me. I didn't fit in with the coworkers. I wasn't happy. I was already being taken advantage of in one job, and they just weren't for me, like whenever you get a job, you're supposed to click with everyone, and it's weird, but like it's true. You have to click with everyone, and if you're not part of that group, then it's not going to work out for you, and it just didn't work out for me. And I remember in the beginning of my job hunt before, I broke up with my ex, and around that same time, I left my old job because they were also taking a lot of advantage of me. That I was worked to the bone, and I biked to and from work. So it's like, I was like, hey, give me a raise, because I wanted to get at least like a vehicle or something, and they just didn't. And whatever, our manager was so bad. But anyway, that's a whole different story. Fuck. But anyway, they didn't give me a raise, so I was like, whatever, I'm not happy here, I'm leaving. So I remember during my job search, I found both of these 2 phony jobs, but they weren't really phony, but like, they were. There was this jewelry place that got in contact with me later, after I accepted both jobs, and I was like, dang, I would have loved that, but I already started 2 jobs that I'm super excited about, so it's like, oh, I can't. And I should have honestly declined both jobs and taken that job then. But it's fine. It happens. So I stayed with these jobs for like 3 months. I was so unhappy, and I felt myself getting back into that cycle of being slightly pessimistic and just not feeling it. And there was something that clicked in me again. It just happens that way, man. Something clicked in me and it said, just quit. You don't like it? Just quit. You don't want to. They're taking advantage of you. Like, oh, no, that's not what happened. Okay, so I quit one because of that. They were like, something in me was just like, just quit, because there's no point. So I was trying to get some tax documents together for the next semester of school. I really wanted to go to school, but in order to go, I had to have funds. And in order to have funds, I had to get this tax document. And I was in a time crunch. So I asked my boyfriend at the time, was like, hey, can you please take me to Houston, like tomorrow? And Houston from where I live is about like an hour or 2. And he was like, yeah, sure. So I had work the next day, obviously, and I was under a time crunch. Like there was literally no other time that I could have gotten this document. I couldn't call for it. I couldn't email anyone. Like, no, I couldn't find it online. Like I had to go in person and retrieve it from the IRS. And I call my job 24 hours before, probably even more. And I'm like, hey, like, I really need to do this. I'm sorry. I've never called out before. I never took time off before. Like, if you could just please, just realize that I'm not coming in tomorrow morning. I just can't. And I told one of the assistant managers, I told all of the employees, and literally no one could cover my shift. And I told them, I was like, well, I'm sorry, like, I just can't go in. Like, it's just one of those situations where I can't. So I go the next morning and I go to Houston and I go and try to get this tax document. He's in a Hawaiian shirt. My boss was already mad at me. It was already a stressful day. So it was like, no more stress. Cool. So I go in and I say, hello, I need to get this tax document. And he said, oh, well, did you make an appointment? And I was like, no. And I talked to a lady beforehand about this whole situation. And she said, yeah, just show up and they'll give you the document. And I never got told, oh, here, let's make an appointment before you go 2 hours out of your way to get this. Or nobody told me nothing. I didn't know you had to have an appointment in order to get a fucking piece of paper. So I looked at him and it was like, oh, sorry, I was not aware that I was supposed to make an appointment. Is there a way I can still retrieve it, or is there a way I can schedule one with you today? And he said, oh no, there are no same day appointments. And I was like, is there anything I can do? Like, I was really reaching for stuff. Like, is there anything I can do? Is there a number I can call? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh yeah, you can call the number on the front door. And I was just like, wow, how fucking rude. Like, I was just like, I even told him, like, I drove, I don't have a car. My boyfriend drove me 2 hours. Like, is there anything I can do? And he still just gave me a straight-faced answer of no. So I call this number and I'm already kind of freaking out because I'm like, I just really needed like a fucking piece of paper that verified that I didn't file taxes because I didn't make enough money that year. That's all I fucking needed. And this guy was being such a dick. I step out of the room and I call the number and I'm like, ma'am, is there a way I could schedule an appointment? This guy's saying that there are no same day appointments, blah, 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 blah. Like, I really need to get a tax document for school or I'm not going to be able to attend, blah, blah, blah. And she said, oh, well, there's nothing I can do. I'm like, come from a completely different state and you would have to take it up with him. Your best bet is taking it up with him, blah, 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 blah. And it was like, are you kidding me? I just hung up on her because it was like, what the fuck? And it sounds rude, I know, but like I was under a lot of stress and pressure and oof. At that point, I'm like crying because I don't have a car. And I wasted 2 hours trying to get this freaking tax document. I skipped work. Like, it was just shitty. I start breaking down crying in the middle of the hallway. My boyfriend is next to me and I'm just like, I'm sorry, but like I'm just so stressed out and I'm just crying, staring out into the distance. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, please get somebody out here. Just please. Like, I need somebody out here. I need someone to help me. I kid you not. After saying those exact words in my head, 2 seconds later, there's this lady who comes running out and she asks me, why are you crying? Why are you crying? And I told her, I was like, I just really need to get a tax document. Like, I took no hesitations and I just said, I need to get a tax document for school. Like, and I go in there and he's not letting me make an appointment. I didn't know we were supposed to make appointments, blah, 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 blah. And she's just like, if I was in there, I would be able to do this for you. But yes, IRS people are dicks. You need to go in there. You need to keep your tears, keep crying, and you need to tell him that you need this or you're going to get kicked out of school. And I was like, okay, I will. And she said, it's okay. Everything will be fine. You'll be able to get it. And then she literally goes away. And I was like, holy shit. And I just like, I rally up and I go in there with my tears and I talk to him like, sir, I talked to the people on the phone. Like, I'm just pouring in tears. They said that they couldn't schedule any appointment for me because of no same day appointments. I just need this tax document or I'm going to get kicked out of school. So please, if you could just please help me out. And he looked at me with like a sort of glare, like, oh, I have to do work. And he's like, fine, be here at 3 o'clock, 15 minutes before, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, really? I was like, thank you. He gives me a piece of paper to verify, the whole appointment or whatever. And I leave the room and I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, I was so thankful, but at the same time, I was like, Really? Like, that's all it fucking took? And then I thought, and I sat there and it was like, wait a second. I asked for that lady to come out. And it's like, oh, it's like something answered my prayers. And like, that is the moment. That is the moment when I realized that there was something out there, because something like that, how? Like, how do you explain that? You're like, yes, it can definitely be a coincidence. Like, people will think it's a coincidence, but like, what the fuck? So anyway, I go there. I go back, 2:45 because the appointment's at 3. Go up to him. He's still there in that Hawaiian shirt. He prints me out a paper, the paper I needed, right in front of me. And then I'm good to go. That's it. I was like, wow, all of that fight for nothing. But it's fine. We made a trip out of it. We went to the zoo. It was fun. It was fine. It was whatever. But anyway. So I get back home and I go to work the next day, and my boss is so pissed at me. It was a rainy day, so I wore rain boots. And there was nothing in the handbook that said I couldn't wear rain boots, okay? Like, I wore rain boots because it was raining and I drove a moped. So I was like, what better day to wear rain boots? My boss was kind of being a dick. They said, oh, like, just to be mean, they said, oh, well, is that like a fashion choice or something? And I was like, no, it's raining outside. And then they were like, oh, well, yeah, that's not professional. You're going to have to go home and change and then come back. And I was like, are you kidding me? I literally, even though I could not find someone to cover my shift, I really had to go and get that document. And you're really going to be a dick about it. Like, I get it. I get that was a lot of stress. And I get that you probably didn't deserve that. But at the same time, bro. So I go back home, right? And I look through the handbook. I'm like, does anywhere here say that I can't wear these type of shoes? I don't find shit. So now I'm thinking, oh, so since it's not in the handbook, it was up to my manager's discretion. And my manager's being a dick. And that's where I cut the cord off at that job. It was fall semester and I wasn't going to school yet because I was trying to get my financial aid together. And I just became super spiritual at that point. After that whole situation, there was just no way. There was no way that something divine wasn't out there. So I meditated. I started meditating a bunch, getting connected with myself, and I'm so grateful for quitting both my jobs like that. Even if it was dramatic and rebellious, I'm so glad I did it because I grew from that. I have grown from that, and it was awesome. So at that point, I manifested a job, and I manifested a really great job with a jewelry store that unfortunately ended up becoming bankrupt earlier this year, but it made me a ton of money so I could go to school without working for a little bit at least to get adjusted. And yeah, because of that, there have been many things in my life where I'll just be like, hey, angels, I need help with this. Let me know you're here. And the next thing I know, I'm writing a tag that's 444. And you guys, this stuff's real. This stuff is so real. And that was the moral of the story. Angels are real. There is something out there that wants you to be a best version of yourself. If you are looking for some sort of something to believe in that's real, then watch this, bro. All you have to do is start believing. That's it. Of course, be careful with all this stuff, but at the same time, it loves you. The divine loves you, and the divine wants you to have everything you want. That's it. I thought I'd make this video because these are some crazy things. Like, they might not sound crazy, actually, now just saying it, but like, these experiences were crazy to me, and they were pivotal points in my life where I realized that there's something more. Get in touch with yourselves, y'all, and get in touch with the universe and with the divine, because your life will change on the spot and in the most beautiful ways possible. And sometimes it might hurt, sometimes it will be too scary, and sometimes it will be very daunting, but in the end, you're all good. I'll talk to you later.